Part 2, who profits when you are dumb and why? Let's examine. A nation's real wealth is not its currency. It's not the stock market. It's not GDP. It's not skyscrapers, military parades, or trillion-dollar tech companies. The nation's real wealth is the capability of its people. That was the original insight behind The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith, published in 1776. Still true today. Productive populations create prosperous civilizations. Skilled people build industries. Literate people innovate. Disciplined people accumulate capital. Independent thinkers solve problems. And competent citizens create strong nations. So if that's true, and it is, then one of the most important questions of the modern era becomes this: why does it increasingly feel like successive generations are becoming less capable instead of more capable? This, despite massive quantum leaps forward in technology and information access? Well, today, you've got smaller vocabularies, worse reading comprehension, shorter attention spans, lower financial literacy, less mechanical understanding, less historical knowledge, less resilience, less independent thought, and maybe, most alarmingly of all, why do the institutions supposedly responsible for reversing this trend appear completely unconcerned by it? Because if you understand incentives, you understand something uncomfortable. A highly capable population is harder to control. A deeply literate population asks dangerous questions. A financially competent population becomes difficult to exploit. A historically informed population recognizes propaganda patterns, and an independent population threatens centralized power structures by its mere existence. So let's go back to the beginning. It starts with Friedrich Froebel. He introduced the kindergarten system in the 1800s. Most people think kindergarten as harmless early childhood education, but industrial government saw it as something much larger. Mass standardized education created standardized citizens, and the timing mattered. Industrialization required factory workers who obeyed schedules. Armies needed compliant soldiers. Expanding bureaucracies needed trainable clerks. Massive populations had to be synchronized into predictable economic behavior. Education slowly transformed from cultivating excellence into manufacturing uniformity. And uniformity scales beautifully for centralized systems. And fast forward that to modern America. Children are increasingly raised not by families, books, communities, or apprenticeships, but by algorithmic media ecosystems optimized for engagement. Not wisdom, engagement. And engagement rewards stimulation, outrage, addiction, dependency, and distraction. Why? Because attention became monetized. The less control you have over your own mind, the more profitable you become. A distracted population consumes more. An anxious population borrows more. An insecure population compares more. An impulsive population buys more. A confused population complies more. Now layer in vocabulary collapse. Previous generations regularly consumed long-form text, newspapers, books, essays, manuals, speeches, letters. Today, entire populations communicate through abbreviations, memes, emojis, and fragmented clips measured in seconds. This matters because vocabulary is not cosmetic. Vocabulary determines the complexity of your thinking. And if you lack words for nuanced concepts, your ability to reason through nuanced systems deteriorates. Which populations are easier to manipulate? Those capable of articulating sophisticated arguments, or those trained to communicate in emotional fragments? There is a reason authoritarian systems throughout history simplified language and attacked literacy first. Complex thinkers are dangerous. And now, reading comprehension itself is collapsing. Millions of people can technically read words while being unable to synthesize layered meaning across multiple paragraphs. Why does that matter economically? Because people who cannot think deeply become dependent on intermediaries to think for them. Experts, influencers, bureaucracies, algorithms, corporate media, political tribes. Dependency becomes profitable. And now consider cursive disappearing. People laugh this off as nostalgia, but cursive represented more than handwriting. It trained neural coordination, patience, sequencing, memory retention, and disciplined execution. Writing by hand physically slows thought enough for ideas to consolidate. Screens accelerate consumption while weakening retention. Again, efficient for commerce does not necessarily mean beneficial for cognition. And then comes the broader pattern. Can't navigate? Use GPS. Can't remember? Use your phone. Can't calculate? Use apps. Can't focus? Consume stimulation. Can't entertain yourself? Endless streaming. Can't evaluate information? Trust fact checkers. Can't build wealth? Finance consumption with debt. Every removed capability increases systemic dependence, and dependence creates recurring revenue. So who profits from a cognitively weakened population? Well, start with consumer corporations. A population capable of impulse control is disastrous for modern advertising economics. Entire industries rely on addictive consumption behaviors. Processed food companies profit from nutritional ignorance. Social media companies profit from attention addiction. Streaming companies profit from passive escapism. Pharmaceutical companies profit from chronic dysfunction. Fast fashion profits from insecurity. Credit card companies profit from financial illiteracy. None of these systems require citizens to become stronger. They require customers to remain dependent. Then there's government. A deeply informed population is unpredictable politically. People who understand monetary policy ask uncomfortable questions about inflation. People who understand history recognize repeating patterns of power consolidation. People who understand finance question debt-based systems. And people who understand propaganda stop responding emotionally to every manufactured crisis. Compliance is easier when populations are exhausted, distracted, divided, and overwhelmed. Not because of some cartoon conspiracy, because incentives naturally reward systems that preserve themselves. And institutions preserve themselves by minimizing resistance. Even education increasingly reflects this. Students memorize for tests instead of learning how to think. Risk-taking is discouraged. Originality is penalized. Curiosity is subordinated to credentialing. The result is graduates who can repeat information but struggle to independently reason through reality. And from an economic perspective, this creates a strange paradox. The nation becomes wealthier technologically when becoming poorer cognitively. Machines get smarter while humans become more dependent on machines. But here's the opportunity. When societal standards collapse, basic competencies becomes extraordinarily valuable. In a weakened competitive field, ordinary discipline produces extraordinary outcomes. Read books consistently, you are ahead. Understand compound interest, you are ahead. Control your impulses, you are ahead. Communicate clearly, you are ahead. Understand history, ahead once again. Build physical discipline, once again you're ahead. Learn actual skills instead of collecting credentials, you're ahead. The competitive set is becoming diluted in real time. This means future wealth may disproportionately flow towards people who simply preserve older human, the ability to focus deeply, the ability to think independently, the ability to delay gratification, the ability to communicate persuasively, the ability to understand systems instead of reacting emotionally to headlines. And this is where hope actually exists. Because the barriers to differentiation are falling, you no longer need to be exceptional to stand out. You simply need to avoid degeneration. Read difficult books, expand your vocabulary intentionally, learn finance, learn history, write by hand sometimes. Protect your attention like it's gold because it is, and turn off algorithmic noise periodically and learn how to think without external stimulation. And most importantly, understand that your mind is now an economic asset being competed for by trillion-dollar systems. And if you do not consciously defend your cognition, somebody else will monetize deterioration. The future belongs to people who remain mentally sovereign in an economy designed to fragment them. And ironically, the more diluted the population becomes, the greater the rewards for those who refuse to decline with it. And now you know the rest of the story for who profits from you being dumb and why. Build that stack. iBankerU. Good day.